Hitting here. Let me see if I got audio as we go live at 2:22. The old laptop's already having some technical difficulties. How about you? Hang on one moment, please. Working on some things. It's a work in progress. No audio? Huh. Hey, what's happening? Music holds a secret. Trying to work out this audio here. Well, we got music, but it don't sound very good. Bear with me, folks. That sounds horrible. This may not work, man. What's up, Glenn? I want to be able to play audio, man, but without going through my laptop. The laptop doesn't really seem to be the way to go these days. But we may have to just go from the laptop. This is too complicated. What I think I'm going to do is set up the the webcam is no bueno. I want this video of me just like this. But I'm running Linux, and I know I've actually done all of the fucking whatever you got to do to get the phone working as a webcam, but it's not working right now. Fuck! All right, hang on. Let's circle back a little bit here. One moment. My act together. That's what we need right there. That's what we need. All right. Thank you for your patience. Audio, man, but that's what we need. Jesus. The fuck is all that? Don't make a damn bit of sense. I'm not plugged into anything else. into anything else. Okay, good. Thank you for your patience, folks. Here we are. For some reason, I thought I could hook up all these complications, and things would just work, but evidently not. This is yet another reason I like the audio only podcast format. I never really had trouble doing just the audio only. The live streaming combined with the audio, that may be a little bit above my pay grade. So shucks. I was really looking forward to being able to play some audio. So a bit unprepared otherwise, but I reckon we'll get there like we always do. Why not? I guess I don't really even need the headphones. How's my audio? Can you hear me? I think you can. What's happening? I made some notes here. I'm taking the day off. I'm hid out in the greater Phoenix area. I made sure to I'm not at a truck stop. Interestingly, I'm generally at a truck stop, so that's why I'm able to talk to you folks right now. Thank you, sir. Glenn, much appreciated. Yeah, we'll get there. Eventually, I'm going to be able to do all of what I want to do when I'm parked, but it's just going to have to be through the laptop. But I believe if I can use the phone just as a webcam, which I know I can, then I think it'll be okay. I was on Amazon yesterday because there's a lot of different items I can order and have them sent. Like yesterday, I could have ordered a lot of different equipment and items and have them sent to an Amazon locker that would be delivered today since I'm off work. I was just too tired, man. This live streaming combined with the job just about wore myself out, man. But it's amazing how quick I bounce back. So I'm feeling pretty good today. Got my coffee. Right, no, not there. Got my coffee. I saw Kim Before the Storm had left a comment on yesterday's live stream, and I think that was pretty good yesterday. Just, I'm complaining about being tired, but I still drove almost 600 miles. Well, I did by the time I got to here. Drove 600 miles. Did a 2-hour live stream. Delivered a load. And then that trailer that I broke, the trailer that I damaged, I'm going to wait around, and the store I delivered to, I dropped it at their dock, and they're going to unload that trailer, and then I'm going to go back for it Thursday and haul it back to Texas and get it delivered, or get it repaired, rather. Yeah, where are the notes? And I had a thought. I was listening to some music, kind of trying to figure out what I might want to play. And I was thinking about Tinfoil Straight Jacket. He lives in the Atlanta area, but he's not from the South. And then I think about these ideas of authenticity. And I don't know if this says something about whatever emotional problems he seems to be suffering from, which is none of my business anyway. But, yo, what's happening, D-Rex? But, he'll never be fully accepted in that culture. He's not from the South. So I'm like listening to just like some rap songs, Southern rap and stuff. And it just struck me. I said, wait a minute. That's right. Tinfoil lives in Georgia. He's not from the South. Hey, I'm doing good, man. How are you? Shout out to the chat. And then something else I've been thinking about with also Tinfoil and Kim Before the Storm. And I think this is where, and I don't really process a lot of jealousy. Like this is not something I experience a lot of. Yeah, exactly. How's the chat? It's not something I experience a lot of, but so I'm always confused by it. But I think some of what's going on with these conflicts that have been cropping up lately is, and EBT, shout out to EBT because he did this recently. EBT did a live stream. He opened the mic and he spoke extemporaneously, if that's the right use of that word. He spoke at length, right? And I am from the South, Tinfoil, so I can say length. He spoke at length and also, displayed vulnerability. And, you could tell at the start he was a little nervous, kind of going into that, some of those, what would you call that? Like street talk, sort of a, sort of putting on a persona. maybe to get through his talking about EBT, his nervousness. And Tinfoil has done some live streaming, but I haven't seen anything in that format. Also, Kim Before the Storm, open the mic and just make some notes, open the mic and talk for an hour. You don't have to, by the way, you don't have to do it 45 minutes, 30 minutes. And I like that style of content, the discourse, and I believe the audience here responds to that. And I think I know I've shown over time, a propensity to be able to do that and to pull it off. And that, now we get into faith and trust, something that's not talked about. I listen to a lot of people talk about, and I am a conspiracy theorist, and all of the topics that are discussed in the so-called truth communities in these circles. But, trust is something you don't hear a lot about, and faith. And then I think I finally figured out I'm doing a lot of this live streaming. I'm developing, I'm further developing my skills. And the fact is, I have a skill set that I have intentionally developed. Kim Before the Storm can develop his skill set, but now we come to the psyche and the narcissism. That's very humbling. It's, there's a lot of foolishness. There's a lot of not being able to show being able to show, decent levels of, being able to accomplish maybe 5 minutes here and there of good audio, of interesting discourse. And see, this is the content I like. I want to be able to hear EBT speak at length. Croco gets on some good tangents at times. And not that all the content should become my style. That's not what it's all about. It's that I believe that is a particular thing, and it's going to be more of a thing, going forward. In some of these truther circles, that's something I really see. So I'm starting to see people that maybe are a little jealous, possibly, of the fact that I can do something that really they can't do. Until proven otherwise, Kim Before the Storm, you can't do what I do. Until proven otherwise, Tinfoil, you can't do what I do. Now, you can go off into the ridicule and the making fun of, which Tinfoil likes to do. And then I see these attempts to trigger me. Well, again, I'm already triggered. And how much foolishness am I supposed to entertain? I guess I can just sit here and just let it wash over me to no effect. But that's not very interesting for the audience, right? If Tinfoil comes on and attacks me, I just sit here and listen to him. He can go do that on his channel, and people who like that kind of content can go over there and do that. And then we get into what I talked about yesterday, some of the PTSD, the repressed trauma, how much of this is people butting heads because maybe they have maybe they're going through some similar things with respect to their, whatever's going on in their energy spheres. It's very interesting to ponder all of these topics. And I was listening to Paul Enslaved earlier. He's live right now. But he's pretty much, Drew said Benton 24/7. It's also Paul Enslaved 24/7. I think he did 12 hours. I guess that's the YouTube limit. And then he ended that stream and started another one. And that's what I want to hear. I want to be able to tune in, and maybe it's the cacophony of intransigence, like we've talked about. Maybe it's the panel all yelling at each other. But if I tune in and Paul's on some kind of 10-minute, rant or discourse, it can be very interesting. So that's what I would like to bring to the table, arguably. But then, look at these people who are being critical, which, hey, criticism's great as long as it's specific and something I can work with. But these attempts to just negate me and, ridicule me. And I may very well later today, since I have the day off, I may actually go live through the laptop and the StreamYards, as much as I don't like my webcam. And I am, hey, you're so vain, you probably think this song is about you. Yeah, I want to appear a certain way if I'm going to be on camera. And the webcam, it just stinks. Something about, why is the phone? Why does the phone look some type of way? But then where's the webcam? The webcam here somewhere. And I know that I could spend more money and get a better webcam, but it just sucks, man. Anyway, any thoughts on that, folks? Thoughts, perhaps? I don't know. What's this all about? What's it all about? Why can I have my live? See, I don't even. It says top chat, but there's no option for all chat. Why is that? What's going on here? What's YouTube doing to me? Look at this. Where's the option to change it from top messages to all messages? Where is that? the fuck is going on? And where's my thumbnail? I got no thumbnail. What the fuck, man? Oh, there it is. Okay, I see. It's under that settings. They've changed it up. See, this is the boomer in me, right? Because when I was younger, not that long ago, I could just easily navigate all of this technology, and it was very simple, and I had the brain to figure it out. The older I get, man, I'm just not able to do that. It's just not a thing. So that's kind of what I mean when I refer to myself as a boomer. Like, it's in a specific context. Like, I can remember being able to operate the technology much more effectively, and now just trying to hook this stuff up. Um, and there has been an effect with all the boozing, and then my health issues, um, like my short term memory, man, it's just shot. Um, that's okay. We will work with that, certainly. We will certainly work with that. Y'all got any topics? I was thinking maybe I was going to be able to play audio, and apparently that's not going to happen. But I am constantly amused by this, especially tinfoil. And then I get to thinking about him as a person. Living in the South, living in Georgia, but not being from the South, not being Southern. And he can never become that. Not that being from the South is any great thing, but what do they say? American by birth, Southern by the grace of God. Like there's something to that. The culture, culturally, and it's. Certainly the culture is decadent and depraved, but I would say in many ways it's just more, if we talk about traditional family values and all this MAGA conservatism and stuff, it's not that the Southern culture is any better, it's just more, it's worse in a lot of ways, but it's a little bit less advanced at the level of, all of this corporate, the nightmare dystopian beast system. Yeah, absolutely. It seems to be it's there, it's in it, but that culture seems to be less enmeshed. It's kind of it's not as far advanced necessarily, I would say. Hey, what's happening, Dark Glasses Woody? Good to see you, brother. Oh yeah, let's do that. Since I do have my laptop in front of me, let's go to my email here. Can I read a Woody email? What? Email. Woody sent me a really good email a while back, and I really haven't even read the whole thing yet. I was talking about that yesterday also. And see, as far as live streaming, maybe this was my upbringing and my background, and then also years on the streets. Like, not trying to brag, but like I'm not nervous doing this. I feel completely at home. I put pressure on myself to make decent content, but at the end of the day, it's a live stream. I'm always free to end it and then not, publish it to the channel, right? So, I mean, really, where is the pressure? I think it's pretty much all, we manufacture it for ourselves, I believe. Doing good, man. Doing good. If I can open my email. Oh, here we are. I'm supposed to be logged out. Oh man, dude. Yeah, look at all this. All right, Woody, I need to go ahead. This last really long email you sent me. I will not proceed until I'm given permission to read aloud from Woody's email. But yeah, back to what I was saying earlier, it seems like, it's almost like there's some kind of weird belief that if I can be triggered, now like I'm discredited. And then we get into creation versus destruction. I'm more interested in the creative outlets than let's go find somebody to destroy. But then, there are times when it's appropriate, I think. And we've seen that. Like Kim Before the Storm posted some long comment some of which made sense, some of which contained some valid points, but some of it was just fucking hot garbage nonsense. And now he deleted it. So now is this the universe showing me something about myself? Because I also sometimes type in an email onto a YouTube channel, and then later on I'm like, well, actually, and then I delete it. But then whoever owns the channel can still see the comment. I'm pretty sure I can go into the YouTube studio and find the comment if I'm so inclined. Yeah, it's a long one. Well, see, that's the thing is I don't know how far we'll get into it. I might read half of the first sentence and start talking. That's part of the fun. Says, recently, you, meaning me, recently you touched on the inability of the average person to differentiate between their feelings and their thoughts. Yeah, I like this topic. This is a good topic. Hey, Tranquil Vortex, welcome. Good to see you. I recently wrote something that touches on the idea. Okay, this is the writing, apparently. I see. I recently wrote something that touches on the idea that the landscape in which our thoughts occur is shared. See, we're already getting into, like, now I have to stop and try to, can I even figure out what he's trying to say here? Because I'm not that smart. My shit comes from, I think about stuff over long periods of time. So now it's like, how much am I going to devote my study to this thing, right? The landscape in which our thoughts occur is shared. Okay, I see. That's like a collective consciousness kind of thing, I guess. Not that negates it. Just I'm attempting to put it in a box so I can work with it. That's the abstraction also. Yes, there you go. Collective consciousness, Glenn. The particular quality of experience is singular. So that's where I get back to. I think that probably ties in when I talk about this as a wholly individual experience at the level of spirituality. And that owes to a unique history of attention. Okay, that would be the framework of my unique experience, presumably. But the scaffolding that comes to us via our form is borrowed. Interesting. That would be the greater cultural context, perhaps. What I wrote is long and strange. Perhaps you will find something of interest nonetheless. God dang. Things can quickly become confused when applying language to the subject of awareness and its various levels. Boy, yeah. Boy, that's the truth. Woo! Yeah, man. Just trying to use this language to have some of these discussions. Fraught with peril, man. It's fraught with peril. Mm-hmm. See, one sentence, Woody, and I'm already talking. This is kind of what I mean. So when somebody sends me a long, thoughtful email like this, I find it's difficult for me to actually read it, in part because either I'm in some drunken state. In the past, I was in some, alcohol haze, or then after that, I was ill. But now it's like, okay, yeah, here I am mentally, but it's like, oh, one sentence, and now all the ideas are exploding. What's happening, Andrew? Good to see you, brother. Coffee time, coffee time. By the way, it's a little chilly in here. Where's my... Hopefully I am parked next to one truck. I don't know if there's a truck driver in there or not. I think probably he parked his rig here and went to his house. I'm not sure that there's anybody over there, but I mean, we are in public, right? All right. Things can quickly become confused when applying language to the subject of awareness and its various levels. That's an excellent place to start, by the way. I believe that's good. In the interest of clarity, So, and I would contrast this with Kim Before the Storm, constantly trying to get on the same page, but with him, right? Oh, come to me in agreement, and then I can. He can steer the ship going forward. See, that to me, that's more in the realm of emotions. Like, that's a feeling for him. And then I think this is where we get into some of the codependency versus someone such as myself and arguably Dark Glasses Woody. Well, I mean, I'm certain. And then maybe most of this audience is the clarity. See, I need the logic and reason to make sense. So it's not about I'm going to choose to believe. I'm not going to choose to agree with Kim Before the Storm. It will be demonstrated through the course of the discussion that, some consensus is reached, but only through the clarity, right? Achieving clarity by having the discussion, I would say. And then so what we come into is if I can clearly see and understand these concepts, and I can speak on them and elucidate them. Is that sometimes I think I know a word and then I have to look it up, but and I actually don't. But see, what I'm observing is he seems to be, while he seems to understand bits and pieces here and there, he wants to, for whatever reasons, probably emotional, by the way, where he's being motivated emotionally. And I'm just guessing. I'm not inside. You know, I'm not him. I'm not in. I don't have access to those, to what he has access to. Coming back to what he's talking about, the unique experience. But I can absolutely observe and then use what I have access to use deductive reasoning to make some educated guesses. And that's how I got. And by the way, I had no idea that I wanted to talk about these trust issues. It was like an epiphany, you know, as I'm communicating with him. I'm like, oh, he doesn't trust. Because I'm like, why will Kim before the storm? Why is he constantly interrupting and sidetracking? Oh, he doesn't trust. He's giving us something. So maybe we're trying to work towards clarity. He doesn't trust enough to be able to move towards the clarity. But now we get into the more emotionally sick, manipulation, gaslighting, personality traits, personality disorders of, okay, well, I'm trying to get y'all to reach consensus with me, meaning Kim before the storm, so that like he can lead the way based on his emotions. But I can't, and here's where the autism comes in, thank God. I couldn't do that if I wanted to. Thank God. Like I could not do that if I wanted to. So yes, the discussion is that's where we're, not we, but the clarity can be a way arguably be a way to work towards these things. It seems to me the discussion. We can't start in the clarity, right? We're enmeshed in this complication. I'm thinking in the English language. I mean, just think about that. My thoughts are in English. I mean, so this is where I talk about smart idiots and people who probably have intelligence in their brain, but how it's not very smart to jump right past all of these basic concepts into complication. That's what I call a smart idiot, versus someone who spends the time to examine and understand the fundamental concepts. It's almost like learning the rules, and then later on we can break the rules. But until we learn the rules and understand the rules, we're going to be very quickly be breaking the rules. He probably doesn't understand he's breaking the rules, but then how does he feel about the fact that there's even rules at all? See, I don't have to worry about how I feel about logic and reason. It's completely irrelevant. It doesn't matter what I'm experiencing in here at the level of them. For me, but I'm only speaking for me. Now, I think we get into, and this is the topic here, is the idea that I've asserted that the average person cannot distinguish between what they're thinking at the level of a thought in the English language and what they're actually feeling at the level of their emotion. So how can somebody have a intellectual discourse with someone like me, but some of the time they're speaking from their thoughts and their logic and the reason, but then other parts they're actually attempting to communicate with me from their emotions, which is doable, but how can that even happen if they themselves don't understand what they're feeling versus what they're thinking? So much so that somebody like me, who is dense, thank God for Crocco, I'm not the most dense person around. Crocco certainly takes that title. Shout out to David Crocco. But that so much so that I'm even someone as dense as me can see in real time what this guy's doing. Oh, you don't trust us? Okay, well now it makes more sense. Oh, but that's a feeling. It's not. I can make all kind of logic and reason, and give it to him of why maybe he could choose to trust. But that's neither here nor there. Like if I'm dumb enough to speak logic to emotion, that's a non-starter. Like this is a complete waste of time. By the way, I've wasted a lot of time attempting to do just that. So I feel like most of what I speak on, I am speaking from experience on most of this. Yippee skippy, yay for Benton. I mean, ultimately, like I enjoy this style of content. I enjoy being able to, but more of just the audio portion. But I've come to understand some people do want to see my face. They do want to be able to observe my facial expressions. There is a certain, uniqueness. This is a very, it's just sleeper cab of a big rig, but as far as I know, I'm the only one occasionally broadcasting video and audio from the sleeper cab of a truck like this in the so-called truth community. Anyway, maybe there's others. I don't know. But then the person goes on with, yes, I did. Thank you, Tranquil Vortex. I did. I rested. And shout out to, what's his name, Wizard over on Paul's panel. He did point out that, it's really more about rest than actual sleep. And I'm starting to see that myself because during my work, when I'm actually working, which is almost every day, I'm good on 4.5 to 6 hours of sleep. And in fact, I've pointed this out. There's times when I get 7.5 or 8, and it actually fucks me up. It's like I've gone into too restful of a state. And then through the day, it's like my body is almost still in this state of trying to get rest. Versus the 4.5 to 6 hours, I just go to sleep, let the brain defrag or whatever the brain's doing, right? And then I wake up and maybe I feel a little, bad in my physical body, right? Because my physical body probably could use more rest at the level of that stress, tension, trauma, whatever, right? Whatever's going on with the tissues, but as far as being able to focus and do the job and all of that, it seems like the 4.5 to 6 hours is better, if that makes sense. Because I've noticed this in truck driving, when I'm just working every day, when I do get that 7.5 hours sleep, which is rare, it actually seems to be counterproductive. But probably better in the long run, obviously. Probably better in the long run. Yes, defragging. Yeah, I kind of think about that being a computer nerd, and I worked in IT. If you guys remember the old days of defragging the hard drive, I would just watch and I actually paid money. I bought very little software in my time, but I think because I pirated most of it, but I think maybe I actually paid money for a really nice third-party defragging software back in the old days when I still ran Windows. I would not run Microsoft Windows if you paid me. That's probably is some of my issues, is that I'm, if I'm going to run Linux, that's fine, but it does increase the workload at the level of now I'm a computer tech, at some point. If I just plug my phone into a Windows PC, and I want to use it as a webcam, it'll probably just know what to do. The Linux, you got to clickety tell it what to do. Yeah. So yeah, I would just watch it defrag sometimes, and I think about that as like that's what my brain's doing when I sleep, much of the time. But yeah, see, that's what I mean, Woody. Like we're like 2 sentences into what you've written here. In the interest of clarity, 1.25 sentences. In the interest of clarity, it is useful to group the concepts of soul and spirit into the term mind. Wow, see, now I'm already like, this is what I mean by the audience is much smarter than me. This is very true. And I do have an advantage, I think, with my IQ just being very average. Is like, I understand there's like all these things floating around above me. I'm not tapped into that most of the time. So I don't, it's almost an advantage that I'm not using a lot of my brain power. Maybe I'll figure it out eventually, but yeah, now I'm like, what? Because I'm not smart enough. But then here's what I've noticed with people like Kim Before the Storm, so Woody's he's saying things to me in this email that is kind of blowing my mind, but I'm sidestepping that thing where I feel like I need to think out loud because I don't trust, and now I got to try to get some control of the conversation. That's what I see Kim Before the Storm doing, is I'll say something which is kind of, it should be mind-blowing to him, but because he's not smart enough, number one, which is fine, I'm not either. He's not smart enough to just immediately figure this out in the moment. So then he's buying time and talking out loud, but it's all rooted in his emotions, the lack of trust, and wanting to buy enough time to sort of then obfuscate, change the subject while also making it appear like he knows what the fuck he's talking about. See, if I try to just talk about what Woody wrote there, I'm not going to know what the fuck I'm talking about. And I'm going to need time to think about it, see. I don't have that time right now. But I can probably come up with something interesting to play off of it. It is useful to group the concepts of soul and spirit into the term mind. Well, and then now we get back into where
see, people notice when I reference the Bible. People notice when I reference Christianity. People notice when I talk about Christ. But what if I talk about this, the guy that supposedly wrote the Kybalion, Kybalion? See, nobody notices then. What was that? I forget the guy's name. Something, I'd have to look it up. But that makes me, the Kybalion, according to the Kybalion, everything is mind. So yeah, I want to see like, there can be benefit in trying to negate all of every idea that comes my way. But I would say that's actually a bad strategy that I see a lot of people practicing. Oh, here comes a concept. Can we dismiss this concept? Can we negate this concept? Now that may be an appropriate strategy in some ways with respect to how I think about concepts. But what I'm going to look at is, okay, what is it already here that I can affirm parts of this message? So I'm thinking, well, the Kybalion says everything is mind. So in that context, if that's true, then this statement agrees. But I'm not. But now we're using the abstraction. I'm abstractly using the Kybalion. I don't want to go into the part where now we need to have a 45-minute discussion about does the Kybalion know what the fuck it's talking about. Go do that somewhere else. That's not what we're doing right here. And that's what Kim Before the Storm struggles with. Yeah, I should be able to mention the motherfucking Kybalion without having to have. Now we got to have a 45 minutes of the live stream devoted to can we verify or debunk the Kybalion. That's fine. Go do that somewhere else, and I'll tune in later. I'll drive my truck and I'll listen to you, Kim Before the Storm, give a 45-minute dissertation about the Kybalion. Please, I would love to hear it. But that would require being able to make a few notes and speak from an outline, but then maybe the conversation goes somewhere else and you throw the notes to the side, but the notes are there just in case you are like, what the fuck am I even going to talk about? Okay, well, let's look at the notes. Right. Can you do this in real time? I can. I haven't seen you do it, Kim. And it's fine. Is that if he can or he can't. It's a challenge. I'm more or less saying, why don't you give it a shot and see what the fuck happens? Get over yourself. But now we get into the emotion. How is he going to feel if the information is not received? If people don't email him and tell him how fucking great he is, right? And he will be attacked just like I'm attacked. This is the internet. Somebody's going to attack you. That's just how this thing works. Anyway. From this perspective, mind implies the locus, L-O-C-U-S, of perception. Now I got to look up words. The locus of perception and the point at which the interaction occurs with wider existence. See, I'm not smart enough to understand that. And I'm just not. I'm just like, well, okay. Like, what does this even mean? Now it's like, am I going to break out the fucking notebook? Am I going to break out the notebook and the dictionaries and start studying and scratch my head and kind of make my own notes? And maybe that's some of what I say comes down to that. It's like, yeah, well, okay. So, but here's another thing. When it comes to logic and reason and trying to achieve clarity, see, his assertion carries the day until I can come back with something to counter it. Well, I don't have a counter to it. So at least in the moment, I'm going to accept his concept as true until proven otherwise, which I would say is a benefit to me versus what I see in most other people is just here come these ideas and they're just dismissing them out of hand. Well, that's a bad strategy because I can always dismiss the idea later. I can sit with that idea for days, for minutes, hours, months, weeks, whatever, years. And then later on, if I'm like, well, actually, that's not true, then I can get rid of the concept. This is a lot of this comes down to strategy. And, I did teach myself how to use logic and reason. And I did it by utilizing strategies. And it's a bad strategy to just, oh, here comes an idea, bam, what can I say to just make the idea move? Here comes the idea, what can I say or think to make that idea go away from me? But that's probably rooted in an emotion. And then I would say that our minds, work towards efficiency and not putting effort into examining these concepts. If that makes sense. Yeah. Am I making sense? See, sometimes I really don't. I'm like, am I making sense? I don't know. I honestly can't tell some of the time. I think I am. That's why I kind of have to pause and check with the audience. I need the feedback. It's like, okay, yeah, probably I am making sense, but what if I'm not? And that's, I think, where you get into this archaics, as Jason Brashears is, the community, they want to push forward some kind of leader, and it does become very cultic. And I haven't been to his channel, but that is actually bad for the charismatic leader, because now he's not having he's had a period of time where he hasn't had honest feedback. So now can he tell his good shit from his bad shit? Because it's like, look, a lot of this stuff's just not good content, man, at various times. Yeah, I can talk for 7 hours on a live stream. How much of it's actually decent material at the level of a discourse? 45 minutes to an hour and a half if I'm lucky. So I think that's what you saw yesterday. It was, 2 hours and maybe 45 minutes of it was pretty good shit. And then the rest of it's more or less filler. But then there's some interesting things. Drew came on. We shot the shit. I think the audience likes that as well. I believe. I mean, I would. I am also the audience. So, yeah. From this perspective, okay, yeah, I got to look up the meaning of the word locus. Not a locust. Locus. And I just Google things. I mean, that's going to get me close enough. I understand in the long run this is probably bad, because now the fucking Google's going to be able to just change the definition of words. I mean, I understand that. Locus technical, meaning a particular position, point, or place. Okay, I see. Interesting. Mathematics, a curve or other figure formed by all the points satisfying a particular equation of the relation between coordinates, or by a point, line, or surface moving according to mathematically defined conditions. A parabola is the locus of a point that moves so as to be equidistant from a fixed point in a straight line. Huh, like it. Pretty cool. Mind implies the locus of perception. Okay, so that's like a frame of reference then, presumably. And the point at which the interaction occurs. Okay. I see what you're doing there, Woody. I see what you're doing. And the point at which the interaction occurs with wider existence, I guess, meaning within the larger context, possibly. I don't know. Let me know if I'm wrong here. I think I'm right. I think I'm following most of this at this point. But that's literally 2 sentences. So it's like, yeah. And I remember that when I was reading Kaczynski. It was like, yeah, I love this writing, but I can't just fucking just read the whole book like I can most books. It's like I really got to get in there. Like, what does he mean here? How much time am I going to spend scratching my head and trying to figure this shit out? Which I think maybe is that can be a benefit of me just coming on here and just kind of speaking more in layman's terms. But then in my best moments, I got some version of this going on in my head. But now we get to the schizophrenia. And then Kim Before the Storm saying, well, don't you think you have, some schizophrenic tendencies? I mean, no, I don't, because that type of thinking I'm talking about will never take over for me. It'll never, to me, the schizophrenia is all of these thoughts, and the person is swept away by those thoughts and can't do anything about it. It's like, no, I can always recenter my mind. I think everybody has schizophrenic thoughts at various times, but what does that even mean? See, like now we get into, well, what do you even mean by that? To me, schizophrenia would be more of a practice, and that's why I kind of push back when they direct a lot of that towards JG. Is I don't think he's practicing schizophrenia. Yeah, he's compared to a normie or an NPC, he's an unusual, odd person. So I mean, so what? So am I. Big deal. But then, in some contexts, Drew and EBT and Tinfoil, they are normies in a certain context. But then in other contexts, they are kind of weird and strange and unusual. And I am losing some of the audience, I see. But I don't know. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm never a normie. I'm never a normie in a given context. Or almost never. JG probably never a normie in a given context. Not even in, his chosen field of skateboarding. A black sheep of black sheep, as it were. That's right. All right, well, we'll slow it down here, because I think I'm losing myself, actually. Nobody's told me that I don't know what I'm talking about, so I don't know, maybe maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. I have no chat. Where's the live? I have no live chat. Where's the live? Oh, here it is. Yeah, Dark Glasses Woody. Yes, definitely. What is that, Andrew K. Mack? See, I honestly don't know what most of this so-called truther stuff is. Like, I'm not aware of it. He says Juan, like Juan, Juan on Juan, folks. Well, and I had attempted to set up my audio equipment where we could actually just go and we could all check it out together right now, but unfortunately I'm not able to do that. The technology is getting the better of me right now. What's up, Dialectic Truth? Good to see you. So this is why I haven't read your email, Woody, because I can't, because it's too deep, it's too dense, man. But I appreciate that you've been able to do this. It's not too dense. It's too dense for me at this time. Beginning at the level of human existence, there are qualities to perception that are widely accepted in philosophical and scientific traditions. They might be described as transcendental categories or merely referred to as laws. In either case, it is understood that they are existing components of perception that delineate human experience. Examples of such categories include the laws of logic, mathematics, language structure, and musical harmony. I like that you put musical harmony in there, because that is mathematical also. In aggregate, they amount to a preformed landscape of experience or lens for viewing wider existence. These categories define an inherited perspective that is a precondition for the intelligibility, of wider reality. If we did not share a perceptual language, meaning would be impossible. Now that's something I want to be like, well, wait a minute. Am I willing to just accept that notion? Or do I need to attempt to challenge it? If we did not share a perceptual language, meaning would be impossible. I think it's the we. If we did not share. Who is the we there, Woody? I'm just confused. See this, and it's again, now we're down to the problems with the language. Like what? I don't know. It's not that I'm being like, oh, who is they though, or whatever, meaning they're like talking about the whoever's running the Nightmare Dystopian Beast system. Like I don't actually know who you mean exactly. And that's not your fault, but it's. I think that's probably a limitation of the language. The nature of this shared lens. Are we back to the collective consciousness? The nature of this shared lens can be approached by reference to holography, Holography. Now we're looking at more words. Holography. Yeah, holography. I do like the visual language, I must say. Holography, if I'm saying that right, is a technique that enables a wavefront to be recorded and later reconstructed. Interesting. Holography is best known as a method of generating real three-dimensional images, but it is also has a wide range of other applications. In principle, it is possible to make a hologram for any type of wave. Okay. All right. I think I'm with you. See, I can't skim this, which is good because I do have a great ability to take in information, to read information through skimming, and ignoring what is not important. Well, this cannot really be skimmed here. Okay, I think I understand what you mean. The nature of this shared lens can be approached by reference to holography. Okay. I think now he's in part describing how our minds work, I think, possibly. The dispersion image that is created on holographic film can be recombined into a three-dimensional rendering of an image. So is that like my mind is the antenna, and then so the here comes the if everything is vibrating energy, that's a waveform. So then here comes the waveform, and my mind is making it three-dimensional, or to use this as an analogy or a metaphor, maybe. I don't even know at this point, but my five senses, possibly. Yeah. A segment of the film can be separated from the rest and used to recreate the entire image. That's a fractal, right? From the perspective of that segment. This segment is analogous to the human mind. Each mind is interacting with the preformed landscape, which can be likened to the dispersion image and recreating the entire thing from a unique perspective. Okay, yeah, okay. Now, see, the thing is, I believe I believe I follow what he said here. I couldn't. There's no fucking way I could convey that to another person. See that now. That's what we get into is like, what is going on in here versus what can I actually transmit to an audience out of my mouth, combined with what can the audience actually, each individual person actually take away from the message. That's interesting. Huh. Yeah, man. I dig it. When we consider the mind that is seated at the level of the human being, it is reasonable to recognize that those creatures most like us possess less sophisticated minds. It is reasonable to recognize that those creatures most like us possess less sophisticated minds. Okay, I think I see what you're doing there also. Indeed, by degrees of lessening sophistication, now see, I think we're actually back to something I was talking about at the start of this. Yep. Indeed, by degrees of lessening sophistication, making sure to understand the basics before we leap forward into sophistication, which this realm loves to encourage people to do, in my observations. Yeah, go be smart and sophisticated. Yeah, do that now. Don't worry about figuring out this basic shit first. You're too smart for that. That's for the dumbos. It's the dumbos are the ones that struggle with the basic concepts. You're smart, so you just go ahead and immerse yourself in complication and sophistication right off the bat. A so-called smart, what I call a smart idiot. Because if they were truly smart, they would understand that it's not an option to skip past the understanding of the basic concepts. It's simply not. Now we're at a manipulation. See, now do you see the manipulation? Do you see how the system is manipulating us? That is the manipulation. Becoming convinced to do something that's not in my best interest for the benefit of something else. That's what's happening here. I think maybe I woke up whoever this is I parked next to, but oh well, such is life. And God only knows what's in this trailer. Now we get into, am I parked next to a big rig that's not actually a big rig? Maybe it's somebody's RV, but it looks like a big rig. And maybe, because I parked, since I'm bobtail, I don't have a trailer with me. I actually parked my bobtail like at the rear of this guy's trailer to stay away from his tractor, assuming he's living like I am, living in the tractor, if he's in the vehicle. But maybe this is a person who's actually converted, because I'm hearing something's going on in that trailer, but there should not be any activity coming from the trailer, right? It's interesting. So in my attempts to be considerate and not disturb this person, that may have actually led to me, in fact, disturbing this person at 3 a.m. with my loud ass booming voice that carries. Trailers and hey, shout out to Truther Cop Official. Yeah, trailers in disguise. And yeah, I thought I was going to be able to play audio, man, and I've had fails. I failed at the level of my technology here, but out of my own vanity, because I want to be able to. I don't want to use my stupid webcam because I do like the way I appear on this on the phone. This is what I'm trying to talk to my pops about. It's like everything's on the phone, man. The phone is easy. I'm a laptop person. I got a laptop right here in front of me. It's all going to the phone, man. Yeah, dude, something's happening over there. This shit's getting kind of weird. Huh. And one of the main reasons I parked here yesterday is there's all kind of security driving around these parking lots. So it's hard to know, like, are they going to come tell me if I just park by myself somewhere, are they going to tell me to move versus parking right next to this guy? Well, they haven't made him leave, type of thing. Wanting to just be able to park and rest and not be disturbed, unmolested, as it were. And then think about the anxiety, stress, and trauma that just comes out of something like that. Like, is what I'm doing even, appropriate in the eyes of this fucking nightmare dystopian beast system? And it's a police state. I mean, we live in a motherfucking police state. I don't think that's debatable. Like, literally. Tranquil Vortex struggles with the inside voice. Oh yeah. I don't even have one, so I've always been like this. Yeah, I have no inside voice. Now I can temporarily lower it, but as soon as I get excited again, it's going to be right back to full volume. Indeed, by degrees of lessening sophistication, it can be argued that it is minds all the way down the chain of forms. Okay. Even if we reject the idea that it is minds all the way down. Now, I think we're back to the Kabbalion ideas that everything is mind. We are still forced to acknowledge that reality is comprised of meaningful information. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. Man's search for meaning, as it were. The interactions at the level of lower forms together amount to perception at the level of the human mind. At the very least, then, all action of forms is fractal. Hey, all right. See, now I get to brag on because I don't have the big brain, but I figured out through my studies and what I put in my head, I figured out that he was referring to fractals before he even got there. Yeah. Not that I'm some genius, but it shows me that I'm training my mind properly. And I do believe it's up to each individual to train our minds. Versus, that's just that person's smart, that person's not as smart. Well, if I can get 95% out of what I was given and somebody else was given way more, but they're only getting 75%, I might actually be ahead of them, right? Hey, JG, what's happening, brother? Yes, we know you're homeless. Thank God. Thank God for JG. And in fact, the first notes I even made, sir, the first notes I even made today it involved JG. See, here's the hand. I used to have really good handwriting, but it's as I write less and less, and I do type 80 words a minute, but as I write less and less, I don't have quite as good of a penmanship as I used to. So basically, the original concept that I made notes about was, we see JG interacting in these formats, but then I have people like Tinfoil, Drew World Order, and Kim Before the Storm who want to claim to be Christians, which I won't claim, by the way, but then they're unwilling to accept JG as their brother because of his behavior. Okay, well, change your behavior, JG, and then maybe we will accept you, right? Now, I think I can't speak for JG, but there's people like me where I'm like, oh, fuck me, well, fuck you. Like, I'll alienate myself, right? Because in order to remove a fear of being cast out from the herd, no, I'll just alienate myself from day one, and then maybe we can work back to a place where we accept one another. And I've talked about with Drew, EBT, and Tinfoil. I've said they will never accept me as my equal. These people will never accept JG as their equal. Now, is that because he's holding up a mirror to them and saying, well, actually, under different circumstances, this could be you, right? And then we get into, they probably feel superior because they live in houses, they're raising their kids or whatever they're doing, right? But then they're also wage slaving. Their time is not their own. See, it's a balance between, characteristics, right? But then like the tallest dandelion or the tallest lily syndrome, it's like, okay, JG's his head's popping up above the field because of his actions and how he lives and how he behaves. Let's cut him down. Let's cut him down so he's equal with the rest of the grass, right? So that now we can all just be equal layers of grass, and we don't have to think about, well, maybe we could actually grow above the level of what's going on here. It's easier for everybody else to just cut him down, see? Much easier. I see what they're doing, believe me. And part of me going to the streets was figuring all this out as far as those dynamics, those social dynamics. So I don't take it personally when I see what's happening. But it says, it doesn't say anything about JG, by the way, when he's treated that way. It says, but I learned a lot about the people who treat him that way. Right? That they're unwilling to accept him. It's conditional love, essentially. They're unwilling to accept him unless he behaves in ways they consider appropriate. And that is bondage. That is slavery. It can't be anything else, right? But then part of the sickness is that our brains have been programmed with these ideas that, well, we're Americans. And, we're, not only are we free, we're more free than any people have ever been, solely based on when and where we were born. So these promotions of these, well, freedom means JG gets to be JG and live his life, and who's he hurting? I mean, what's going on here? That's the way I would look at it. Oh, but he's not productive. Oh, but it's a nightmare dystopian beast system police state. Benito Mussolini's conception of the state. It's a fucking this horrific, nightmarish, satanic corporate overlay to everything. But JG's not producing for that thing. Well, fuck, that's better, ain't it? Ain't that better than? Isn't it better not to produce? Isn't it better not to feed the beast, but still be able to exist and living in faith? By the way, living in faith. Living in faith, trusting that he will be cared for and taken care of by whatever this realm is, and by whatever it is. Now, he can have whatever beliefs he wants, but in my belief system, the trust that whatever it is that made all this will care for him. Now I can tie it into the Bible, but I won't, because people have no problem with me referencing other writings. But then if I want to reference the Bible, now we got to have a fucking 45-minute Bible argument. I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in that. It's just not interesting to me. I've had plenty of Bible study. I really don't need any more. What's up, Razvan? Good to see you, brother. I like to complain and victimize. Oh, that's JG likes to complain and victimize himself. Yeah. They're working it out in the chat. I like Razvan, and I'm not gonna get too involved in that. Oh, but this is kind of back to what I was just saying. This idea of skateboarding at 30 years old. I mean, what's wrong with that? Exactly. What exactly is wrong with that? Well, and just I happened to go right to this sentence. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but it says, once the barrier of the 4-minute mile was bested, it was no longer a limit and was repeatedly overcome in rapid succession. And that's absolutely true. And it reminded me of something, because me and Drew got to talking about basketball yesterday, and I'm, in the context of playing basketball, I'm one of the smallest players on the court typically. But what some people may find surprising is I was really good in the post, meaning the taller players who operate closer to the basket. So in spite of my size, I had really good post moves, which comes down to footwork. And I figured this out because when I was a kid, when I was a young person in my teens, I just believed what I was told, which is, well, since I'm smaller, that means I stay farther away from the basket. I'm not able to be effective close to the basket. But then I observed someone who was stocky and bulky, but he was shorter, who went and played down close to the basket. And by watching him, I said, well, okay, I can also play close to the basket. So then that limitation was removed. And then I just said, well, fuck it, I'm going to be able to, I'm going to develop this part of my game. And so that if somebody who was much physically taller than me, but wasn't that good at basketball, I could play them one-on-one and literally just back them down, even though they're 6 or 7 inches taller than me, and just easily beat them close to the basket through my footwork. But if I hadn't have changed my belief, if my belief had stayed the same, in the context of this 4-minute mile. But once I saw somebody else do it, now it's like, okay, yes, that's possible. And that's definitely those are definitely interesting ideas. Absolutely. They're going down in the chat. Well, yeah, I mean it is kind of interesting because I'm old enough at 47 that it used to be considered shameful at a level of society. It was shameful and strange for a man in his 30s to play video games, and that's just a fact. When I was like 6 years old, my family got an Atari 2600, and my dad didn't know how to hook it up, so I actually hooked it up to the television. But at that point, he just solely based on his age, he wasn't going to play it. Culturally, in the greater cultural context, that just really wasn't a thing. And maybe at the local arcade, you'd have like some late teens, early 20s kids playing video games, but not a father with children, not a married man with children. He wasn't going to play video games. But see, now the societal context has evolved to the point that it's just completely accepted and normal that a man in his 30s will play video games. But see, now we're going to apply that structure to JG and say, what are you doing skateboarding? Oh, you mean pursuing a hobby or an interest with a progression? When you play a video game, there's a progression, right? You start out at a certain level of the game, and then you progress towards a fixed point. Same thing with skateboarding. You start at a certain point, and you end up somewhere else through a progression. It's really not any different. Although it is different in that it is arguably superior because it involves this physicality. There's not a lot of physicality involved in clickety or doing this. And I'm not looking down on video games. I played a lot of video games in my time. I'm merely pointing out that, and this, by the way, is kind of what I'm talking about not about skipping past the fundamental concepts and then just going headlong into sophistication. Just assuming, oh, well, it feels like at 30 plus years old, he should not be skateboarding. Well, guess what? When I was a young person, it felt to people like a 30-something-year-old shouldn't play video games. But the fact that it felt that way, does that just make it right? Does that justify it across the board because that's how people had a certain feeling? I disagree. Now, the fact that people may have a certain feeling towards somebody in their 30s skateboarding, so what? But if he was Tony Hawk or one of these famous guys who derived a large income from it, let's be honest, it is America. It is the Western world. We only really judge in money. That's how we keep score. So if he was making a bunch of money doing it, then it's completely fine. But I would say if something's worth doing, it's worth doing of its own merits, irrespective of the, meaning that the reward is contained within the activity itself. Meaning I don't need to be rewarded with Federal Reserve notes or fiat in order to get something out of skateboarding, which it's an enjoyable activity. Even if I just grab my skateboard, and I'm 47 and I ride a skateboard sometimes, even if I just grab my skateboard and go skating around the parking lot, it's enjoyable, it's fun, right? There's positive aspects to it. And I understand they don't like each other and they're having an argument, so that's fine also, or they're disagreeing. Yeah, something's going on over here, man. I kind of want to fire the rig up and move now, but I don't really know where I would go. And I can only go there at 5 miles an hour since I'm on my break. I think they're just going to have to deal with it. Because I'm hearing weird noises from next door that I really shouldn't be hearing. And I did notice it says on the tractor, it says not for hire. So, yeah, maybe that is somebody's stealth. They're stealthy. They got their stealth rig there. Well, sometimes that stealth can be a disadvantage when Benton parks next to your trailer, trying to be considerate, and runs his loud yap, doing live streams at 3:32 a.m. Oh, see now, but see now we're into the now, oh well, I have a job, so it's okay that I play video games in my spare time. But you, JG, are lowly. You're a lowly, wretched creature, barely barely existing at a subsistence level. So you haven't justified, you haven't earned your right to ride a skateboard, sir. You need to go out and serve this nightmare dystopian beast system and pay taxes and contribute. Right? See, this is not, it's nonsense, man, and it's part of our programming, and we haven't examined it. And this comes back to the examination of one's belief, which, by the way, is something that JG doesn't preach much, but he does talk about that. Why do I believe this thing? Because I once bought all that bullshit. I believed, and by the way, lots of normies here in this so-called truth community. Not in my little niche, but who want to talk about conspiracies and talk about the police state and how bad the government is and blah blah blah. But just the mere notion of discrediting somebody because of their lack of interest in using their human essence, their resources, their faculties, their energy, their time to go serve evil, essentially. And the fact is, yeah, I drive a truck and they give me fiat currency, but I'm serving evil in the process of doing this. Like the United States government takes money out of my paycheck and does God knows what. Well, I know what they do with it, but they, we can complain about, the national debt is $31 trillion. Well, guess what? The bulk of what they take out of my check, they literally just give it to bankers in the form of interest on the national debt. So we can talk about the Jays, and we can talk about, the financial system being what it is, and we can talk about bankers. Well, guess what? The bankers are I'm literally giving them part of what I am. I'm handing them part of my humanity. And I know that I'm doing this. That's the thing. I understand that I'm doing this. Now, JG is not doing that most of the time. Now, he does presumably receive fiat, Federal Reserve notes at times, but I would say much of his labor, portions of it are not taken and given directly to bankers. Now, when he goes to the store and purchases products, much of that is tax, so that does go to governments. But then again, like I said, it's nearly impossible for one to exist completely outside of these structures. For myself, I would want to avoid attempting to look down on other people for not feeding the beast as much as I'm feeding the beast, right? Because isn't feeding the beast less? Isn't that better, right? I would think so. It's better to to give less of my humanity to the beast? I mean, I would think that would be less bad, not better, less bad. Yeah, less bad. But then part of my whatever I'm afflicted with is I don't feel anything when I talk about these ideas. I don't have to concern myself with how I feel about all this. Now, back to what we were talking about earlier with a lot of people can't tell what they're thinking from what they're feeling. And I've observed this in them. It's not me saying, you're this way, you need to change. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm observing this. And I also observe that I have a different makeup, which means I can be beneficial because I'm able to see from a different perspective. In that way, I can detect what's going on. So I don't need to concern myself with how I feel about everything I just said. But then you got people like Kim before the storm. Everything I just told you, all those logical concepts, all of that only exists in relation to him in his own mind. And that's bad for him, by the way. Who suffers? Because I don't really suffer. I only suffer from that if I choose to suffer from it. He suffers the most that he's that way. And then now we talk about compassion and empathy, and I don't have a lot of compassion or empathy. Well, it gets complicated, but compassion is when I realize, but not without, I'm not looking down on him, not in a patronizing way. Compassion is to realize, wow, I can see the suffering in that, and I would not want to suffer in that way. That to me, but then I treat him, I would say compassion is a practice. Now am I then able to communicate with him based on that at a level of compassion? Yeah, I would like to, but I'm really not able to at this point. Maybe in the future, perhaps. I think that's something to work towards. Yeah, of course. Hey, JG, you can't time people out. We got, I don't know what's going on in the chat here, but yeah. Hang on. JG, you can't be timing people out, man. Come on. We only moderate for, well, you can, but I don't want to have to take the wrench away because I'm not interested. But we only really time out for like really bad behavior. So I either got to give Razvan a wrench or I got to take yours away. So what's it going to be? Look at this. See, Razvan is just. Did you ban him? What did you do? I don't see. I need to be able to see Razvan. JG, what the fuck are you doing, man? What is this? All right, Razvan, if you're still watching, I'm attempting to rectify this situation. Give me a moment. I don't really know how YouTube works, so what? Oh yeah, well that's your opinion, sir, that he needed a timeout. Oh, this is funny. Now the boomer's got to try to figure out how to moderate. Do I have to install the fucking YouTube Studio on my phone? On my other phone? This is hilarious. I'm gonna have some Spanish black radish while I'm figuring this out. Yeah, good shit right here, buddy. That's crazy, man. I think both of you need to chill out, but it's not really. I'm just not interested in policing people's behavior. But I guess now we're here on the YouTube channel, and it's like, what the fuck is this? I don't even know where to go to fix all this. Community moderation. Okay, see, now you got me in the community moderation. I've gone all this time and I've never clicked on community moderation. And I don't mean Razvan. I mean both of you have done this. Oh, there he is. He's back. Okay. Well, let's just not delete his comments. I guess that's really, or time him out if you don't mind. If he wants to spurg, let him spurg. That would be my opinion on the matter. Yeah, that's you, Razvan. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but Razvan said he ran away from home when he was 17 and slept on the streets. I guess he means for 4 nights because he was hurt by his parents. Well, and I'm sorry that happened to you, man. He was hurt by his parents, but he chose not to victimize himself. He forgave his parents and came back. Well, good for you, man. That's great. But however, that's you, man. That's you. Yeah. And it is morning time, and we are male, aging males, and we're probably cranky. I mean, let's be honest, dude. It's I don't know what. Well, Razvan, it's probably daytime, but JG, it's 4:40 a.m. where you are, right? Or maybe 5:40. I think he's on Eastern time. You're a little cranky, maybe, possibly. It's possible. I'm not saying you are. Maybe you're cranky. Yeah, I have no idea how to operate this. Anyway, just pretty please with sugar on top. Don't time out any of the regulars if you don't mind. If that's okay. And I don't even like saying that, but I guess I have to. All right. Is JG a coffee drinker? Maybe get some coffee. What's up, Rob Brown? Good to see you, brother. Yeah, this is hilarious, dude. Yeah, let's not delete the messages. Pretty please. With sugar on top. Many van lifers are in stealth mode. That's a good comment. Tranquil Vortex. Mad Maxing the bus. Yeah, there you go. Those are good movies. I think I've mentioned. I went back and watched all the Mad Max movies, the first 3. Good flicks, man. I don't know what the Aussies think of those movies, but oh, fucking hey, dude. Is it panel time yet? I'd have to have JG come up here in a minute. I don't even like that term "come up," but I guess that's the vernacular now. Yeah. Well, they're working it out in the chat. Yeah. See, what did we do? We did an hour and 20 minutes so far. The first 15 minutes was me not being able to figure out the technology. So yeah, pretty close to an hour. Pretty cool, close to an hour of decent content. That's enough, right? Now we can chill and hang out. I feel like I've met my obligations. I'm still kind of fried though. I'm still tired, man. I'm still tired. But I see, like I'm looking at myself on the screen here on the laptop. I see what, like when they start making fun of my appearance, I see what they're talking about. I'm a 47-year-old person with a serious illness. Of course, this is what I look like. But in my own mind, I remember like what I used to look like when I was young and strong and, you know, all of those things. So in my mind, I'm still that. But then I see this and I'm like, oh, I guess that's, of course they have certain perceptions because that is what I look like. Yeah, there's something to that for sure. Oh, Rob used to hop trains. Yeah, he's right. Now Razvan's right, JG. Don't abuse the wrench because I will just give him a wrench if this is the way it's going to go. But then everybody will have a wrench, which means nobody will have a wrench. You know what I'm saying? Like it'll just all cancel itself out. Yeah, yeah. Don't abuse the wrench. Oh, buddy. And D-Rex, I didn't even mean to make him a moderator. No offense, D-Rex, but I think I was clicking on trying to do something and just you were a moderator afterwards. It's like, all right, well, okay. I guess he can keep it then. Fucking A, dude. Well, I think I'm going to end this one, but yeah, I don't want them either. People give me wrenches and I don't ever use them, but yeah, I hear you. I think I'll end this one here, but I need to eat. And then I'll probably come back later if anybody's around. Maybe do the StreamYards. I might actually just get over myself and go ahead and go live from the laptop so I can share my screen and such. So thanks for watching. Bye.